We're here, ladies and gentlemen, with Congressman Mike Lawler of New York. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Mark. How are you?
Good. First time, I think, yeah?
During the campaign in 2022. Second. Yep.
That's right. And you want a close race. You want it from a Democrat. That's a good thing. Now, you're working with a Democrat from, I think, the most Democrat district in the United States of America, who's Richie Torres, who actually supports the state of Israel and comes under vicious, vile attack from the squad and other squatters. And you and he are working on something together. Is that right, Congressman?
No question, Mark. We've actually introduced a few bills together, including the special envoy for the Abraham Accords, which became law. But just recently, we introduced the Columbia Act, which would target schools like Columbia that are engaged in this vile anti-Semitism that we're seeing. It would allow the Department of Education to install an anti-Semitism monitor because what we're seeing right now on these campuses, folks like President Shafiq refuse to do their jobs to keep these students safe and to crack down on anti-Semitism. We know that if these were protests against black people or gay people or immigrants, that these schools would crack down on them immediately. But because this is a protest under the guise of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, they allow it to occur no matter the vile anti-Semitism that is spewed. And ultimately, the objective here is to change the behavior. And I've also introduced a bill, the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, which will be voted on tomorrow on the House floor, which would basically codify President Trump's executive order that would require the Department of Education to adopt the IRA working definition of anti-Semitism for all of its Title VI violations of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 on its discrimination enforcement cases.
Congressman Lawler, are you shocked, like I am, and many of my audience are also shocked about this, that Joe Biden has been basically silent about all this? Is this not all the actions coming out of Congress, mostly from Republicans? You have a few Democrats like Richie Torres, a handful of them, but all the action is really on the Republican, mostly on the Republican side, and almost none of it is coming out of the White House.
It's shameful what's happened. You know, President Bush said it best. In the aftermath of October 7th, the world would stand with Israel, but the moment they defend themselves, the world would turn. And that's exactly what we've seen. And President Biden is facing a tough reelection, and Democrats are panicking about what is happening within the base of their party and how it will impact them electorally in Michigan and Minnesota. And so you see not only Joe Biden not leading on this issue, but you have Chuck Schumer, the highest-ranking Jewish official in the history of the United States, pathetically timid on this issue. Just today, he finally spoke out, about what is happening at Columbia. But it's shameful. And Jerry Nadler is opposed to the bill that we're voting on tomorrow. Meanwhile, he was a co-sponsor of a similar bill just 4 years ago.
I mean, are you Jewish?
No, I'm Italian-Irish Catholic.
No, that's all right. Richie Torres, is he Jewish?
Nope.
And so, and I'm finding this remarkable because, the speaker had a press conference today. I'm looking at all the chairmen and chairwomen of the committees. None of them are Jewish. He's not Jewish. You're not Jewish. Torres isn't Jewish. Where are all the Jewish Democrats, Congressman? I'm just curious. In Congress, where are they?
Well, this is the amazing thing, Mark. I mean, the United States was the first country to recognize Israel 11 minutes after its founding, Harry Truman. And you look today and you see just silence from some of the biggest leaders within the Democratic Party and the Jewish community. Some of my colleagues, Richie Torres, Josh Gottheimer, Jared Moskowitz, they're leading. They're doing the right thing. They're working with me on bills. But this is insane. I've never seen anything like it. And it really needs to stop. You see Democrats are panicking about the election, and they're allowing that to, be more of a factor than doing what is right here. You have students being harassed, assaulted. The leader of this protest at Columbia University calling for Zionists to die. This is being allowed to happen in America, and it's disgusting.
What do you think about Blinken and Biden? They're funding Iran, which President Trump had cut off. Iran's obviously giving enormous sums of money to the terrorist organizations and regimes that surround Israel proper. Iran's getting a nuclear weapon. It doesn't appear like we're doing anything about it. Tom Cotton said we're not doing anything about it. And meanwhile, Blinken keeps going to the Middle East and keeps pounding away at Netanyahu, pounding away at the IDF, pounding away at Israel. And now there's a report from CBS that the federal government, all the instrumentalities of the federal government, have been working quietly behind the scenes to bring Palestinians from Gaza into the country. Let me ask you something. They're doing this all on their own. They're changing American policy towards Israel, towards Iran, which is now leaning towards Iran and against Israel. They just get to do this, Congressman, without any real effort to stop them?
Well, this is why, Mark, I fought so hard to make sure in the foreign aid package that we passed that two of my bills were included, the SHIP Act and the Iran-China Energy Sanctions Act. And they were, and they now are law, and both are targeting the illicit Iranian oil trade, which is funding their terrorism. Since Joe Biden took office, $88 billion in increased sales of Iranian petroleum. This is what is funding Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis. It is absolutely downright shameful. And meanwhile, China is the biggest purchaser of Iranian petroleum. 80% of Iranian oil sales are purchased by China. This is why it is so critical to have strong foreign policy. President Trump was right about China. He was right about Iran. He was right about Russia. He got the Javelin missiles to Ukraine. This foreign policy under Joe Biden has been an unmitigated disaster, starting with the withdrawal in Afghanistan, resulting in the death of 13 U.S. service members, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the terrorist attack on Israel, threats emanating in the Indo-Pacific from China. This foreign policy is an absolute failure. Bob Gates was right so many years ago when he said that Joe Biden has been wrong about every major foreign policy decision.
But John McCain was right about Blinken. He went to the Senate floor for 30 minutes when he was nominated for deputy secretary. He said, this man is dangerous. He is dangerous, is he not?
No question about it. This foreign policy team has been an absolute abject failure and a disaster, and it is undermining the United States. It's undermining Israel. When you have the Senate Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer, calling for regime change in Israel, when you have Nancy Pelosi calling for Netanyahu to resign, and meanwhile, they say nothing of Iran, nothing with respect to Qatar and holding them accountable with respect to Hamas. It really is just mind-boggling what is happening right now under this administration.
We're here with Congressman Mike Lawler. Mike Lawler, again, what is this bill you're voting on tomorrow exactly?
Tomorrow will be a vote on the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. It's a bill I was working on throughout the year last year. It would require the Department of Education to adopt the IRA working definition of anti-Semitism and all of its contemporary examples. It basically codifies President Trump's executive order that he had put in place during his administration. And when you see what's happening on these college campuses, we need to clearly define what anti-Semitism is and make sure that it is being enforced on all of these discrimination enforcement cases that are brought about.
Do you expect to get most of the votes out of the Republican Party as well?
Yeah, I suspect most Republicans will support it. There are some who, feel there might be some First Amendment issues. I do not share that viewpoint here. But I would suspect about half the Democrats, roughly, will vote against it. Certainly the squad is opposed to it. Jerry Nadler gave this bizarre defense yesterday in the Rules Committee explaining why he wouldn't support it and that, he doesn't like the IRA definition because it says that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. And I hate to break it to Jerry, but it is.
Because people in this audience understand Zionism simply means the state of Israel. So if you're saying abolish the state of Israel, you're abolishing the people who inhabit the state of Israel. So what else can it possibly mean, Congressman? That's what it means.
It's exactly right, Mark. And the crazy part is Jerry Nadler was an original co-sponsor when this bill was introduced 4 years ago.
Well, we certainly don't look for him for our Guide Star, North Star, or our principles, do we? But
no.
Are you in a tight
sure
race?
Not.
Tell us about your race.
So I represent a district that Joe Biden won by 10 points in 2020. There's 80,000 more Democrats than Republicans just north of New York City. It's home to the Clintons and George Soros. So by no means is it a bastion of conservatism, but we've been able to flip this seat representing areas that haven't been represented by a Republican in over 20 years because of the issues. People are fed up in New York. They're tired of the high taxes, the lack of affordability, the rampant crime in New York City, the migrant crisis at our southern border. And, within the Democratic Party, what they're seeing is this rank anti-Semitism that is pervasive. And I represent one of the largest Jewish districts in America in terms of population. And so, I feel very good about where we are heading into November. I'm running against Mondaire Jones, a one-term member of Congress. He was the third most progressive member. He associated with AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Jamal Bowman, and the rest of the squad. He believes in defunding the police, open borders. He called ICE agents racist.
Yeah, he's a Trotskyite.
And so we need to hold this seat. New York will determine the majority once again. And if we want a Republican majority, seats like mine are going to be critical. So if people can help, they can go to LawlerForCongress.com, FOR, LawlerForCongress.com, and support our efforts.
Well, we need to hold your seat, Congressman. LawlerForCongress.com, LawlerForCongress.com. If you can help, folks, please do. LawlerForCongress.com. He's running against, my words, not yours, Congressman, a real Trotskyite. That's what he is. He's a Trotskyite. And I suspect in his private moments he would tell you he's a Trotskyite, just as Bernie Sanders used to be a Trotskyite. But he progressed. He's now just a pure Stalinist.
He called himself a progressive champion for Brooklyn. When redistricting happened 2 years ago, Sean Patrick Maloney, who I defeated, pushed Mondaire Jones out. Mondaire went and ran down in Brooklyn and Manhattan. He shut his office down early. And really showed himself for who he is, which is a true radical progressive. And he is not someone that would support the issues that we care about as conservative Republicans in the least.
Well, I certainly want to endorse you if that doesn't hurt you. You never know.
I appreciate it.
All right, Congressman. God bless you. Keep up the good work. We'll be watching this vote tomorrow very closely.
Thanks for all you do, Mark. Appreciate it.
All right. Be well.